Which six NFL quarterbacks can be affected most positively by the results of the 2023 NFL Draft? It's time to break it down right here and right now as we begin another edition and another week of Locked On Fantasy Football.
Are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL and fantasy football for sportingnews.com. It is here, draft week. It's going to all start to go down Thursday night from Kansas City, April 27th. Can't believe it's here. We're going to have a little bit more draft talk leading up to it. We will break down the entire first round for you to close the week on Friday, and then we'll really take a deep dive into the offensive skilled players taken after that as well. So a lot to come here in our post-draft breakdown, but we do have to still talk pre-draft. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to look at six quarterbacks I think could really be boosted their stock for fantasy football based on what their team does in the 2020 NFL Draft. So Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, top of mind there. Can't wait to see what they can do with some of the weapons they have, but it could get better for them in this draft. So we're going to examine those two and four others, a couple of veterans and a few other young guys to watch out for to see their stock rise based on getting some help in this draft. So we'll break that down for you. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. Subscribe and follow for free wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A special shout out to the everydayers who check out our podcast all the time with our 5 days a week on average here. So check us out here. We've brought it to you all throughout the off season for full seasons now. Here we've got a lot in the books here. So we're rolling. We got important stuff to keep talking about here as we wait to actually go on the clock here for the 2023 fantasy draft. So a lot of good stuff still to come here. I do also have to tell you this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month, and we'll have more about BetterHelp later in the show. All right, let's dive right into the quarterback that could be helped the most here. It is Kenny Pickett of the Steelers. Now, they're pretty good at wide receiver right now. They added Aaron Rodgers as a flyer. We know they traded Chase Claypool last year, but you got Deontay Johnson. They're being pretty special. George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, and of course Najee Harris out of the backfield catching passes. So Steelers offensive skill-wise could get a little bit better. They might get Calvin Austin, the speedster that they drafted from Memphis last year, having a bigger role. That's why they're adding a little bit of depth with Robinson because Austin coming off pretty much a wiped out season because of injury. Robinson just wasn't motivated. He was a little bit older and didn't deliver for the Rams as expected here as a compliment to Cooper Kupp. So, again, they're taking a flyer. I wouldn't say Allen Robinson is the Allen Robinson of old, but I could also see the Steelers addressing this position in the draft, getting a little bit more help there. Right now, you look at Deontay Johnson. He's a pretty good technician. On the outside, you have also George Pickens, who can be a big slot, but also stretch the field. So I think ideally you'd have Austin come in and be that guy in the middle of the field. But I think they'll be in the market for a wide receiver. They can get Pat Freiermuth some tight end help as well. And really the biggest thing that you're looking for with Kenny Pickett is pass protection. Dan Moore Jr. has been their left tackle. You hope that they can land that left tackle. Right now they've been tied to all the top guys, Peter Skoronski of Northwestern, Paris Johnson Jr. at Ohio State, as well as Broderick Jones out of Georgia. So all these players are all on the radar for the Steelers and just improving their blocking overall. It's been a slow process in doing that in Pittsburgh, but Isaac Seumalo should help at guard, the former Eagle, part of that great offensive line in Philadelphia. So transitioning to the other side of state, I think there'll be more offensive line changes in store here, but really like what is in store for Kenny Pickett here in year two. Again, he's buried among the QB2s, but I think it's going to get better. I know the Steelers, in their heart, want to be a run-heavy team, play defense, and go that direction. But really, you got to put it up here if you're in a division with Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson, and you're probably going to get more out of the Ravens, of course, with Lamar Jackson potentially returning here, but still three potent offenses that you're going to have to put the ball up. So the black and blue defensive-minded AFC North is not what it used to be anymore. You got to put up points to win games, especially when you're dealing with Watson and Burrow, two of the better quarterbacks in the league with their weapons. All right, so Kenny Pickett in a good position there to be improved. But how about Jordan Love as well? We know Aaron Rodgers is being traded. That alone helps Jordan Love because he'll be the starting quarterback for the Packers. You have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs from last year's draft as well. I think they'll look to add a third receiver here to maybe be a big slot or someone they can move around and maybe put one of these guys in that role, Watson or Doubs. But Watson and Doubs are pretty big, so I think you'll get a more traditional slot to replace Randall Cobb now that you don't have that attachment to Aaron Rodgers. I think you look for a slot weapon there. The other position we know has been tied big time to the Packers with Robert Tonyan leaving for the Bears in free agency is tight end. Michael Mayer of Notre Dame pretty much been mocking them in every situation. They're early at number 15 overall. So Jordan Love has got some up along the way. Don't forget about offensive line. David Bakhtiari getting a little bit older. You also have Josh Nyman at the other right side. So we need to figure out better offensive line play. Running game, pretty solid. That's the most reliable asset here with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So Jordan Love again, get a little bit protection help, depth. That would be great for Love. Get that tight end, get that third receiver. So this is like the Aaron Rodgers saga is going to pull into the Jets, and they're going to make sure they have the right weaponry. The Packers remaining there are going to get it done here with Jordan Love. All right, there is a look at two guys that I have on my radar that can really be improved for fantasy football stock and value here from the results of their teams working the 2020 NFL draft. It doesn't hurt that we're looking at the Steelers and Packers, two very sound organizations when it comes to drafting and helping their players. So really looking forward to what the Steelers and Packers look like with those two guys at full strength here at quarterback. We'll explore four more such quarterbacks in our final two segments here. The last two are also on the younger side, and the next two are veterans who had some pretty decent numbers last year, so can't wait to break down those offenses for you. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp, and really, I can't say enough about therapy online or in person. If you need that, it's very key because it's really gotten through me some tough times in the past couple of years. I'm going regular to therapy, and really, you're just getting to know yourself there because sometimes we're trying to solve the puzzle that is our brain. We need to get it untangled a little bit and get the best out of it. And BetterHelp is going to get you there with the way you would like under your terms. And really, therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk to things. BetterHelp is going to connect you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. So really, I can't recommend therapy enough. If you've been trying to start it, but you don't know where to go, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you don't like the first fit, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So you'll get with a therapist that will be right for you for sure. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn88 to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. That's HELP.com/LockedOn. Check it out and you'll get 10% off your first month of online therapy. All right, it is time to continue the show here on Locked On Fantasy Football and look at quarterbacks that can be helped most by the 2023 NFL Draft. We're up to Jared Goff, and Goff was a fringe quarterback one last year. He did really well at home, struggled at times on the road. His splits were pretty amazing here. Part of his weaponry was inconsistent on the road. They also had a change there where they traded T.J. Hawkinson as reliable tight end during the season. Now you got to deal with Jameson Williams dealing with the 6-game suspension. He was not healthy for most of last season, so big playmaker from the first round. not available early for Jared Goff. So maybe the Lions, given that their status of a team that can win now, maybe go out and get a little bit more wide receiver depth. Here, I think they could use it behind Amon-Ra St. Brown no matter what. They did not bring back DJ Chark. Marvin Jones is a limited solution there. So I think I would not be surprised if the Lions upgraded that position. Also looked at tight end after making that Hopkins trade. They have a few guys they like, including Brock Wright, but this tight end class is too deep to ignore here, where I think the Lions will tap into it as another source of production with St. Brown. Also, look at the Lions looking at a special receiving back, a complete back, perhaps Bijan Robinson, a little bit more durability over DeAndre Swift. Here you have Dave Montgomery is providing a little bit of a contingency there because he can catch passes and be on the field for quite a bit. But the Lions are going to be a downfield aggressive passing team. They're going to keep their weapons upgraded here and looking good. So I really like what the Lions can get done offensively. They also have a very good offensive line, so not much to address there. But I think getting a little wide receiver depth now with the Williams situation, working at a tight end, getting a back that's more complete so they can stay on the field for 3 downs. Not only will that help Jared Goff as an outlet receiver that can be reliable and stay on the field, unlike the off-injured Swift, but also a guy that can take pressure off the passing game by running and then setting up play action in the downfield passing when Williams returns. So this Lions team, very loaded right now offensively. I think they're going to build a little bit to it as they see themselves as a contender, and they're going to get some luxury picks here as well, not rebuild. So that's what we like to see from the Lions. This is the best and most confident offense we've had since Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson were doing things together in Detroit. So really excited about the potential for the Lions. Jared Goff is the orchestrator of all this. He's going to be the guy that benefits from all this. So Jared Goff really in position to be much improved. Daniel Jones put up a very impressive fantasy football season. A lot of it with his breakout that got him a new big contract from the Giants was his running ability. That was definitely a factor, but that's something when we look at all quarterbacks getting a boost in fantasy football, those who can do that. So Daniel Jones now, maybe with his arm, can do a little bit more. They've got to upgrade the receiving core. They brought back Sterling Shepard. They have Darius Slayton in the mix, but said goodbye to Kenny Galladay. They're going to try to recover from the Kadarius Toney trade with the Chiefs. So they're going to be in the market for sure for wide receiver help and maybe multiple there. They did add Darren Waller in the draft, or through a draft trade, I should say. And so Darren Waller is essentially a draft pick for them to help with Daniel Bellinger. So big piece is there for Daniel Jones. Offensive line, pretty good shape here with Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, but really looking at continued upgrade. They also might look at a young receiving back if they're moving on some Saquon Barkley next year with the franchise tag, only locking him in for 1 year if he comes back. So get a little bit more outlet there. Barkley can help there, maybe give him some true depth other than Matt Breida, who's not an in-depth pass catcher there. So give him a little bit of a designated pass catcher, work on the wide receiver depth, give him multiple guys there that you can look at. And Jones, I think, just being schemed up in year 2, they're just going to have a better understanding of what can complement it better in this offense. So really excited to see what Daniel Jones can do in year 2 in New York here with an exciting offense. All right, we will break down 2 more quarterbacks who I think are in great position to be much improved with their fantasy football stock thanks to the 2020 NFL Draft. Speaking of that, Locked On's NFL Mock Draft Special is here, and it's bigger than ever. Follow along all 32 teams' first pick in a 6-episode Ultimate Mock Draft experience. Only Locked On can deliver. Check it out. All episodes are available now streaming on Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Check it out. It's fantastic here with all our correspondents, breaking it down team by team with what teams might be thinking when they're on the clock here on Thursday night. All right, let's continue the show and close it looking at 2 more quarterbacks with a lot to gain from this 2023 NFL Draft. How about Sam Howell of the Commanders? He's getting every shot to be the starting quarterback. Their contingency option is Jacoby Brissett, but right now it's not too bad. You have Terry McLaurin, you have Jahan Dotson. They could upgrade a little bit more from Curtis Samuel, not reliable to stay on the field. You also have Logan Thomas, who's had battled a lot of injuries at tight end, so I think they'll be in the market also to tap into one of the better tight end classes. Offensive line could use a little bit of upgrade. You have Charles Leno Jr., who's been a pretty good at left tackle for them, but again, tight end should be an upgraded position. Wide receiver, maybe again that third option. They did lose a little bit of depth there, so Sam Howell can also run a little bit, throw downfield. So, look, it's not the worst place. We've seen Taylor Heineke flash in this type of offense with the Commanders, and they've changed their coordinator. So I think Howell fits a little bit more with what they want to do here. So a lot of things, moving pieces here, but I do like the Commanders' offense in general and how it can relate and help Howell. You just get a few extra of those skill position pieces, and also don't be surprised if they go after a running back. I know they have Brian Robinson there with Antonio Gibson, but Gibson may need to be replaced as a primary receiving back in this mix. So all kinds of things could be upgraded here for Sam Howell to try to give him every opportunity to succeed. They need to get a good evaluation of this fourth-round pick this year. If not, then they bridge it to Jacoby Brissett, and then they look at quarterback for 2024. We talked about Taylor Heineke. He's now in Atlanta with Desmond Ritter, the starting quarterback for the Falcons. They intend to give Ritter every chance to be the starting quarterback this year, so that means not drafting a quarterback and having Heineke as a fallback plan. Just be there if things don't work out for Ritter. But Ritter's got a lot of strong leadership qualities and tangibles here. He's a good run-heavy offense that plays into his mobility as a quarterback. And remember, he can get some yardage and numbers that way for you in fantasy football. It's not like everyone's rushing to get Ritter. It's still going to be run-heavy offense with a low ceiling here for what the Falcons are going to do. But you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, probably going to get another receiver. You added Jonnu Smith as well. So I think wide receiver is still going to be a high priority here to help London and Pitts and get somebody open. I don't think Matt Collins and Scotty Miller are going to cut it there. So something to look at there. I also think the Falcons would be in the market to upgrade their backfield situation behind Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson. Patterson getting up there could break down at any time. Algier had his own share of durability issues last year as a rookie. So getting a bit of running partner with him, and that would help Ritter in the mix as a good runner himself out of the backfield. So lots of things to look at, but I think Falcons, Arthur Smith, he finally has a quarterback he wants to work with. I don't think it was Matt Ryan a couple of years ago. Last year, Marcus Mariota was just trying to plug and be a stopgap there. So really interesting things with these young receivers. I think Hal Ritter, Kenny Pickett got the attention last year. Malik Willis kind of ended up a tough spot with Titans. We'll see if he can somehow get that job back or they go in a different direction at quarterback here in the draft to move on from Ryan Tannehill. So we had high hopes for some of these receivers and quarterbacks in these second-year situations, and we really can follow through on that with these quarterbacks. Seeing Hal Ritter getting the chance that Pickett did, I think they really should have all started last year, but the Commanders insisted on going with Carson Wentz at first, and then that blew up in their face, so they had to move on. The Falcons also wanted a bridge with Mariota, but now Hal Ritter had the keys to their offense, much like Pickett does, and again, nowhere to go but up here. This is a good evaluation process. I think if these teams there, the Commanders and Falcons, don't see much improvement, they're going to dive right in and get that draft pick early for their franchise quarterback. Going after Caleb Williams, Drake May. We'll see how they end up there with their finishing record. But Hal Ritter definitely has some opportunities. It's not a void place here. You have some good offensive mentalities in both situations in Washington and Atlanta, so there's a possibility. But when you look at the quarterbacks with the most upside, there's no question it's Kenny Pickett and Jordan Love based on their weapons, their organization, things around them. Then you look at Jared Goff there, the blocking, the weapons, all that good stuff. Daniel Jones is going to see an upgrade and all that as well. So young quarterbacks in the league, I think the bar is slowly being raised for what a QB1 production is. It used to be around 19 to 20 points, maybe a little bit more than that, but some of the gaudy passing numbers going up. So keep that in mind. But these are some guys that you can look at in the later rounds that could definitely please your team. All right, there you have it. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Every day, we'll do something a little bit different again, draft related with running back tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. We'll look at running backs that are in a bit of a trouble based on what could happen in the draft. So one on a positive note with quarterbacks that could be boosted by the draft, we'll look at running backs who have to worry a little bit about their teams going after running back and making their value low, but we want to, essentially in each situation to just have one clear-cut running back for fantasy football purposes, but we need to know who's fading there based on a strong rookie class of running back. So we'll address that for you on tomorrow's show. So looking at some things important for the draft, and we'll also look at the wide receivers once more and do some things there. So again, we're setting you up for the draft, and then we'll have the post-draft breakdown here from a fantasy perspective on Locked On Fantasy Football. For Locked On Fantasy Football, this has been Vinnie Iyer. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll check you out Tuesday with more pre-draft talk on NFL teams for fantasy football.